So, my name is Sydney Gorman, and I'm going to be discussing Anne Bradstreet's poems to her father with some verses and an epitaph on my dear and honored mother, Miss Dorothy Dudley, and how the Puritan standards and gender roles have changed and how they differ from today's roles. So, I guess to start out, to analyze her poems, and to her father with some verses, Anne talks about her father with utmost respect, and she clearly addresses him as a superior, and she obviously sees him as an authority, and it almost seems as if she views him as more of an authority rather than her own dad. And she speaks in the apologetic tone and promises her father that she's gonna make her whole life purpose living up to his expectations. And that can be seen in the quote from the poem. Such is my debt, I may not say forgive, but as I can, I'll pay it while I live. Such is my bond, none can discharge but I, yet paying is not paid until I die. And that kind of goes to show how women saw themselves as inferior and felt as if they owed everything to men, which is very different than the vibes that are given off in the poem about her mother, and where she talks about her mom with respect, but it's more of a casual and loving respect rather than respectful and viewing her mom as superior. She sees her mom more as a companion than a superior. She obviously spoke very highly of her mom, because she was proud of her and she appreciated her, and instead of how she spoke about her father, where she spoke highly of him because she thought she owed something to him. And her mom was just like her, kind of from the poem. It seems like her mom is just like her in the sense that she was also obedient, religious, and kind of soft and soft-natured and stuff. And that can be seen in the quote, "A loving mother, an obedient wife, and then religious in all her words and ways." And that kind of shows how women were clearly viewed as conservative and submissive, while men were viewed as dominant and outspoken. And then no one really dared to defy men, and the people who did were shamed. And an example of this is a woman named Anne Hutchinson, and she decided to speak out and critique Puritan beliefs, and she attracted a large audience, and there was a lot of men in her audience too. She attracted a pretty good amount of both men and women, and they all came to her little sermons and speakings, and she critiqued the Puritan belief. And the religious leaders did not like this, and they decided to have her banished from the colony. And the reason that they banished her wasn't really so much that they were critiquing the colony's religion, but really just the fact that she was a woman. And that can be seen in the quote from the source, Anne Hutchinson, and it said, "The real issue to those in power was that she dared to overstep her place as a woman, and they feared she would likewise inspire other women to rebel. The assertion sealed her fate." Because she really tried to defend herself, but instead of being viewed as defending herself and having a say, she was seen as assertive and doing too much, and she wasn't obedient and loyal like she was supposed to be. And that was a very common theme in the Puritan society, because women were put down and degraded for standing up. And that differs a lot from today, because now a lot of times when women stand up and speak for what they believe in, they're always amplified, their voices are amplified, and they're supported by especially other women. And that's a lot because our morals since then have definitely changed. And while there's still countless people in the world who put them down for challenging gender norms and sexism, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. And women now, at least they have a voice, whereas they didn't in the Puritan times. If they tried to speak up about anything, they were immediately shut down. And people are kinder to each other now, and they don't discriminate as harshly as they used to. And that can be seen in this quote from my source, "Morality Today versus Puritan Times." And it says, "In education, people always make use of history to prevent further violence and tragic loss in further generations, which suggests the higher moral standards of peace and sympathy are introduced in today's society." And that ties a lot in to my topic, because back in the Puritan times, people didn't really have many morals related to peace and justice that they do today. They burned people because they thought they were practicing witchcraft, without even a proper trial. They're just "I think you're bad, you deserve to die." They didn't really give people a chance to defend themselves, whereas now, at least it's we're more focused on peace, and we give people punishments, and we hardly ever give out the death penalty unless it's a really, really bad thing. There's obvious proof that they deserve it. And then women also have a lot more opportunities now than they used to, and they're like lifted up for doing things that they used to be put down for, like women who go to school and seek higher education, or like women who want to get a job and make money and stuff. Like back then, women who wanted to go to school and get jobs and stuff were seen as like, you're doing a man's job, you're not supposed to do that. But now they're like uplifted and they're encouraged to do that stuff, which I think is really cool. And then another thing I noticed is that men today are also supported when it comes to doing things that aren't inherently like masculine, like taking care of their wives and kids, or cooking and cleaning for their families and doing chores around the house and stuff. And instead of being seen as like feminine or sensitive, they're being seen as helpful and responsible and respectful. So I think that's really cool. So I guess in conclusion, gender roles have definitely come a long way since Puritan times, and it's definitely a positive change. And there's still a lot more ways to go in regards to like the more like smaller details of that. But I do believe that women deserve to have the same rights and respect as men. And although we're not completely at the like equality level that we need to be at, it's definitely a lot better than it used to be. And I really think that's something that a lot of people look over.